G'day and welcome back to RC Model Reviews and back to the bench. It's been a while since I've been sitting in this chair in front of the bench. The winter's been not very kind to me, but hey, it's spring. Look, got t-shirt time. If you've got a t-shirt that you want me to feature on the channel, this is quite an old one. I got this a long time ago. So yeah, I'm happy to wear your t-shirt as long as it's not obscene, you know, as long as it doesn't talk about something obscene like, I don't know, an obscene thing, then I'm happy to wear your t-shirt. You get a free plug to dozens of people that watch my channel. There you go. How about that? Pretty cheap for a t-shirt. Anyway, so I'm looking forward to a summer of t-shirts. And today, of course, you read the title, didn't you? You know what this video is about. It's about these, the SkyZone 030. Not to be confused with the SkyZone 030 or the SkyZone 000 or whatever. It's like 03. It's version 3 of the SkyZones and O for OLED. OLED. Right, so this is my third attempt to review these. I've tried 3 times before and I've failed. Well, I haven't failed, but I've done the review, done the video, got into the editing suite and started editing up. Then the next day I've gone out and flown again and thought, no, that review isn't really right. It's not representative. It's not accurate enough, because every time I fly with these damn things, I just love them more and more. I've flown a lot of video goggles over the years. In fact, some on my bench here, amongst the mire, I had my first set of the FatShark base edition goggles. Man, they feel so light and small compared to what we have these days. These were the base edition, no receivers, no head tracking, no DVR, no fan, virtually nothing, just a couple of LCD screens that you slammed in front of your face. Lovely wide field of view, but plastic optics with coloured fringing. But we thought they were great. They got us into the hobby. In fact, they got me into FPV. I flew these for many, many years and they still work. Still work, testimony to the FatShark quality. Then, of course, I moved on to other, I don't know. Yeah, here we go. No, yeah. SkyZone brought out the original SkyZones. Look at these. These have got plenty of stickers because, again, I flew these for years. They were built-in receivers. Diversity. 32 channels. No race band on these babies. 32 channel diversity receiver. And they had this really novel feature. They have a camera right in the front here by my finger, so that once you've got them on, you can press a button and you can still see what you're doing without tripping over your transmitter and standing on people's things as you try and move around with your goggles on. Fantastic. But again, no DVR, no fan. In the summer, I used these the other day, actually, when I was doing one of the videos for this review, because I was, well, you'll see it later on. And it reminds me why we need a fan. Hot day, I'm running up and down the field, I'm sweaty, fogged up within a minute. I could hardly see where I was going because the lens is all fogged up. The biggest problem with any goggles that don't have fans is fogging. It's got a fan, see? Most goggles these days have a fan. In fact, I've been using the Aeonways, which are actually out there at the moment. And one of the things that attracted me to the Aeonways over the SkyZones was the fan and the DVR. Right, so I've used quite a few different goggles, and not just the FatShark and SkyZones. Also, remember the bling goggles? The Goggle 3, I think it is. Goggle 3 from Walkera. Bling goggles, I wore all the jewellery for that one, did my Mr. T. They work, but I don't think these had no diversity, just a single receiver, and there were only one band. You couldn't do, it's like 8 channels. 8 channels? Seriously? No. Fine for Walkera stuff, but not a general purpose goggle that you would really sort of enjoy using. And also I've got others, I don't know, I've lost all the other ones. So, yeah, I've flown quite a few FatShark goggles. I've got the Aviators, I've got the HDO2s, and they're all good goggles. I mean, I'm going to tell you this now, but I'll repeat it later on. The goggles you've got are always better than the goggles you want, because you can use the goggles you've got. You can't use the goggles that you just want but don't have. So there you go. Just go fly, go fly. But I'm going to talk some more about these now. Okay, here they are. Let me just give you a quick walk around so you know what's what. They're very similar to the original SkyZones in terms of the whole layout. If we put the other original SkyZones in front here, you can see we've got the cluster of 3 buttons there, 3 buttons there, and so forth. The function's slightly different, but this is still your head tracking button. You've got channel and band, so you can easily step through your bands and channel. You've got these buttons used to be volume. See down here it says volume, but on this one, these are your mode and your record, because your DVR has got DVR, of course. And then you've got a search for scanning the band which scans. And I should point out, these do all the, you know, the low frequencies, 5.3 gigahertz and stuff. So if you really push for space in your area in terms of the 5.8 gig band, you could, and I'm not suggesting this is a good thing to do, but you could fly legally and go down to 5.3 with some of those 5.3 gig video transmitters. This will receive them. It does the whole lot of bands. far more than just, I think it's 70 channels or something. I can't remember, but it's well outside the spec if you want it to be. If you want it to be. Now, obviously, got a great big booty fan on there. One of the problems with the Aomways, as I found out after a while, is that the fan in the Aomways was a tiny little fan, and it eventually stopped working because little fans don't last. Small fans just don't last. It's a bigger fan, woohoo, bonus points for that. Now, on the front, we've got 2 SMA connectors because we've got diversity receiver. One of my concerns initially with these new goggles was I didn't know if the receivers were going to be sensitive enough. One thing I noticed going from my old SkyZones to the Aomways was that the Aomways had much better receivers, gave me much more range, much more consistent image. And I thought, if SkyZone are using the same receivers, it could put it at a disadvantage. So what did I do? I went out, I got the 030s and my Aomways, I put them on a step, and I flew my little Tiny Hawk Freestyle? Yeah, Tiny Hawk Freestyle 85 gram quad. I flew around and I recorded the flight on both goggles, and they were side by side, should be getting exactly the same signal. Here's what we found. Look, this is the flight that I took, and you can compare the two side by side. Now, I don't know about you, but it seems to me that they were both pretty much identical. So I've been very happy with the range and sensitivity of my Aomway goggles. So I'm pretty happy with the new SkyZones as well. One thing I noticed that was really good was that the DVR in these is much better. I think it's got a 6 megabits per second data rate, which is much better than the 4 megabits or so that most of the earlier DVRs was producing. So the images got more detail. It doesn't have the blocky pixelation with rapid movement. It's a great improvement over the early DVRs. One of my biggest complaints with goggle DVRs has been that they're just crap. This is a whole lot better than what I'm used to in terms of the goggle DVR, which is fantastic. Right, what else have we got here? Underneath, this is where all the plugs plug in. And we've got a wealth of connectivity, got HDMI in. So if you're going to use something like the Bifrost or some other digital source of video, because hey, more digital systems will come along. And if you buy into these, well, you're future-proof to a degree because you've got the HDMI input, and you've got an AV input. So if you're using a separate base station, you might have, for example, 1.2 gigahertz, might be doing a bit of FPV on frequencies that aren't supported by the inbuilt receivers. There's your AV in, AV out, so you can feed that off to a monitor or even a separate DVR if you want double insurance. USB, I don't know, I haven't used that yet. I don't know what that's for. There's your micro SD card slot, and no, even though it's it faces the ground. I haven't had it fall out at all. It seems perfectly fine. Earphones, if you use earphones, Mr. Steele uses earphones. I don't use earphones. Although I may start, because I was noticing on the weekend I was flying my quad at a distance. There was another quad closer to me, and it was really kind of disturbing when my throttle stick movements made no difference to the noise I could hear, and it felt kind of weird. So I might give that a go. Maybe Steele's onto something. On the other side, we've got the head tracker connector. Yes, head tracker built in as standard. And you've got your DC input jack, which is down the side, underneath here, sorry, rather than out the side, which I actually think is kind of good because you can use a DC connector that doesn't have an angle bend on it, because I've found that some of the angled ones, they tend to fail more regularly than the straight ones. Maybe it's just me, I don't know. Ipd adjustments here, as you can see, and these are ratcheted. So unlike the AR way, which when you tilt your head, these move, these stay put in place. In fact, that's one of the things I like most about these goggles. Virtually all the other goggles I've ever had, I've had to spend quite a bit of time positioning them in exactly the right place on my face, playing around with the IPDs before I'd get what I would consider to be a picture that was satisfactory to fly with. So I waste a lot of time. That's your battery wear, it's your VTX getting hot. These things, I can just throw them on my face from a distance and wham, I can fly. No tweaking, no farting around, no adjusting stuff. They're just there. And away I go, and the picture is perfect. So that's a bonus. That's a real big bonus. And just go back to receivers for a minute. If you're looking at comparing these to the FatSharks, for example, you don't have to buy a module. They've got diversity receiver built in. It works. It functions very well. And as I say, it's got lots of extra channels. So that's a bonus. If you do price comparisons, makes these a lot cheaper unless you're an existing FatShark user who already has a module and wouldn't have to buy one. But if you're starting from scratch, or if you're upgrading from goggles that don't have a module, then these are going to save you money. And let's have a look at the business end. It's a bit you slam on your face, so it's got to be good. And I have to say, there is absolutely zero light leakage around this face mask. Absolutely zero. First goggles I've ever had with not the slightest bit of light leakage. And I think that's probably because they give you two face masks. There's one for normal people or people like me with great big heads, right? So that's quite a bit wider. And then there's one for the criminal types who have narrow heads because their eyes are close together. You can choose which one fits. This one didn't provide good light sealing and it wasn't comfortable. This one is absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. Fan-jolly-tastic. So there you go. Now there's a space in here for diopters. So if you've already got diopters for your existing goggles, you can slide them in there. One area where this is not as good as the HDO2s that have just been released from FatShark is that if you need corrective lenses, you will have to get diopters. There's no focus control on here. The new HDO2s from FatShark have got a focus control. Fan-bloody-tastic. So you can adjust the lenses and you might think, whoa, how innovative of FatShark to do that. Well, not really, actually, because let me show you these. Look at these. See, these have got focus. These are focus controls. Moves the lens in and out to focus it. And what are these? These are those original EA Sheen, the real cheap and nasty ones with a tiny, tiny field of view. And they had focus control, so FatShark's just borrowed that. And FatShark have borrowed another feature of these goggles, the power button. This button, and on these, on the SkyZones, the power button works like a power button, straight out of the box. You don't have to move a little jump around inside like you do on the HDO2s. That's a bonus too. And of course, it also adjusts your fan speed. So long hold for operating power on or power off, just a touch, ramps this fan up and down. So yeah, it's really functional, really ergonomic, works just fine and dandy. So I guess the next thing you want to know is, what do they look like when you've got them on your face? What's the picture like? So obviously I can't show you what it looks like through here. I can film it with a camera, and Joshua Bardwell has done that. But it's kind of like when you see them advertising these fancy OLED TVs on television. You've got a crappy old LCD TV, maybe years old, and they're showing you how wonderful the picture is on these new OLED televisions. But you can't tell because you're only watching it on a crappy old LCD television. So if I was to film this and you would have watched it on your LCD monitor or your whatever, it's not going to look anything like what you see through here. And I've got to say that this is by far and away the very best set of analog goggles I've ever used in terms of picture quality. Absolutely gobsmackingly fantastic. Now, I would say, to be honest, these are probably, if we take the DJI digital system up here in terms of the wow factor, and we take something like a regular set of, say, FatShark HD goggles down here, as the good analog LCD systems, then these are right smack in the middle. They are way better than any LCD goggles I've ever used. The contrast, the clarity, because they are very high resolution. The contrast, the clarity, the color vibrance, it's just brilliant, fantastic. In fact, a good testimony to that is that I took my little, my go-to quad, my MX P200, which has still got the crappy Firefly Hawk 4K split camera in it. And that's a terrible camera for looking through the goggles. It tends to make everything it's too much contrast and the colors are too bright when I use my goggles. You know, it's just a bit of overload. And when I put these goggles on and flew that quad, I thought, wow, it's like having a different camera in the quad. These things handle so much more dynamic range. They handle much more better color handling, better contrast handling. And it was like I had replaced the crappy 4K Hawkeye split with a much better camera. It's just like, whoa. And so I was blown away, and I got my little Emax Tiny Hawk Freestyle, and that's got a CMOS camera, and it's kind of like an old CMOS camera. When the sky's got white sheets of cloud, it darkens up the ground. And you probably saw in the video that I showed you the comparison before that the ground looked kind of dark. Through the goggles, I mean, the DVR didn't do it justice, because through the goggles, even when the ground was dark, I could see everything. It's like there's such a wide contrast ratio with these goggles that even, you know, where the LCD goggles might just crush the blacks, this still shows you the detail. Oh, it's brilliant. It's absolutely fantastic. So yeah, it's kind of halfway between good LCDs and digital. It's brilliant. If you want to keep flying analog, OLEDs are the way to go. They just provide such a better experience. And so as I say, I did this review. This is the third attempt, because the first time I did it, and I was, you know, my usual fairly cynical self, and I said, yeah, these are okay, and the picture's pretty flash, and, you know, can't really find too much to grizzle about them. And then I went out and flew them again for another day, and I came back thinking, no, that's not a fair review, because these are pretty damn good. So I did it again. I did the review again. And I said, well, these are pretty damn good, you know. And then I went out and flew for another day. And now I'm saying, these are bloody fantastic. I have to say, they really are a step above anything else that I've used before. Now, to be fair, the FatShark HDO2s are out now. And also I have to declare that SkyZone sent these to me. They said, what color do you want? And I said, I want white. Look at my walls. Look at my t-shirt. I want white. And they sent me white. There's lots of different colors available in these. I think FatShark, you only get a choice of white. Any color you like, as long as it's white. But you can get blues and reds and camo colors. Camo, amazing how good that would be. Having camo goggles, you put them down the grass, never find them again. But yeah, so I got sent these to review. As you know, there's no affiliate links in my description. I'm not going to make a buck if you go and buy these things. So there's no point in me recommending these things if they're no good. And I'm recommending them because I find them really brilliant. In fact, I'm not the only one. We had a visitor here at the airfield from Australia this weekend, and I thought I would give him these to look through and ask him what he thought. Here's the footage. So what do you think of them?
The field of view, even in 4.3 against 16.9, is wide enough. I don't think 16.9 seemed to give you anything more. The fit is very, very nice across my face. I didn't have to adjust the IPDs. The padding round the top and the bottom, there's no light leakage at all.
What about the image itself, the colour and the sharpness?
The colour in the OLED screen and the sharpness is amazing, really amazing.
Yep.
Over what I've been used to in the older style FatShark box goggle that I have. It's chalk and cheese.
Excellent.
Yeah, I can't wait to get them.
So you've already ordered some, haven't you?
Yeah, I succumbed to the special that was on.
Now, Ian, the visitor from Australia, he'd already ordered a set of these things. So there was no buyer's remorse from him. Once he looked through these, he ordered them sight unseen. And once he saw through these, he was pretty happy with his choice. He decided he'd done the right thing because these just blew him away. And they'll blow you away. So the real thing that's going to happen now is you're going to have to think to yourself, do I buy these or do I buy the FatShark HDO2s? Now, I can't speak about the HDO2s because FatShark haven't sent me one of those. Companies these days are being very careful about who they send product to. They make sure they send it to reviewers who probably are not quite as critical as me, who don't nitpick as much as I do, because you don't want to send a product with flaws to someone who's going to find the flaws. You know, you send it to someone who's probably going to gloss over the weak points and focus on the strong points. That's what you do. That's a commercial. That's business. That is what you do. I cannot fault any company for doing that. If I was in business and I had a product, I would try and make sure I send it to the reviewers that were going to say, yeah, it's a great product. Link in the description. Because that's money in your pocket, right? Now send it to the gnarly old guy at RC Model Reviews and he says, yeah, did you notice this? Because I'm going to tell you another thing I don't like about these. There are some things I don't like about these. For example, in all my old goggles, there was a little toggle I could use to adjust the brightness and contrast, right? Which when you go from model to model, or it's a cloudy day versus a bright day, you want to tweak the brightness and the contrast to get the best image in your goggles. With these, you've got to go into a menu and then navigate through the menu and select the option and then up and down and then out from the menu. So that was a negative, at least I thought it was a negative. But even that, because these OLEDs have such a huge range, dynamic range for handling lighting and colors and things, I haven't had to change the settings. I set them up to suit me, which is a little bit brighter than they were, and I haven't had to change them. I've gone from crappy old style CMOS cameras with no light handling at all to modern CMOS cameras, which usually look a bit washed out on LCDs, but look brilliant in these. I've gone back to CCD cameras, which can be a lot more contrasty. Brilliant in these. No, I haven't had to change a damn thing. So I'm not really missing the little toggle. I'm just loving the fact I don't need it anymore. But yeah, here's another one. Look, Cylon bar. Seriously, light bar? What serious FPVer is going to use the little LED? No one. And I think SkyZone probably should have saved a few pennies and left it out and reflected that in the price, because these aren't cheap. Not cheap. But again, if we're going to look at making choices for goggles, I mean, you've got 3 things on your plate. If you're looking at upgrading from your existing goggles, you're going to have really only got 3 goggles in your, or maybe 4 goggles in your sights, right? You're going to have these, which are value for money, pretty hard to beat. They're pretty hard to beat. They're expensive, but you do get a lot of bang for your buck. There's the FatShark HDO2s, which have got a bit more resolution than these. They've got a bit bigger field of view, and perhaps that's one of my other complaints with these. Not a complaint, actually, it was a complaint originally. I went from the Aomways to these, and I thought, 4.3. Why do I want 4.3? I want 16.9. Here's a little bit of video to show you why I think 16.9 is better than 4.3. Right, here's a little experiment you can do to see why 4.3, I believe, is not as good as 16.9 when it comes to the aspect ratio of your FPV gear. Take your fingers and place them just in front of your head, about here, and then just move them apart until they disappear from your peripheral vision so you can't see them anymore. It's about there for me. So that's how far, that's the width of my peripheral vision. Now do the same thing this way. There you go. That's the height of my peripheral vision. You can see it's much wider than tall. So if you're running a 4.3 image, you're wasting that space on the sides. It's not giving you the full use of your vision. 16.9, it can be encompassing, and you won't miss anything. You'll actually gain the peripheral vision. So that's why I like flying 16.9. So I think that, my vision's wider than it is high. So when I'm looking at something that's 4.3, I'm either zoomed up so much I'm losing a bit off the top and bottom because my eyes, I'd have to swivel them up and down, or I'm basically not using available vision out the sides. My peripheral vision isn't being used. So I would love to have 16.9s, but OLED panels I think are only available at this stage in 4.3, so 4.3 is all you're going to get. Initially I was a bit disappointed with that, but the more I've flown with these, the more it's become a non-factor. Also field of view, these I think are less than 40 degrees, so it's smaller than I'm used to. And I love an immersive field of view. When I started with my original FatSharks, I think 42 degrees, fantastic, fills your whole field of view. And that's the real one of the blow-away things about the DJI digital system. Field of view is so immersive, it's brilliant. Now, some people don't like a big field of view. They find it distracting because evolution has taught us that things that move in the corner of our eye could be a predator. So a lot of people get distracted by the rapid movement out the corners of their eyes when they've got a full field of view. I don't mind that. I'm not afraid of bits of grass and tree leaves and things like that. So that doesn't disturb me, but some people it does. One thing I've noticed, I have a lot of goggles here, as you've probably seen, and I invite people from around the country, around the world, if they're thinking of buying goggles, come here. Come to Tokoroa, New Zealand, where I have my studio, and throw all of them on your head. Try them all. And you'll soon find out whether you prefer big field of view, narrow field of view, 16.9, 4.3. You'll find out what you like. And I am always blown away by the fact that no two people like the same thing. It's not like everyone likes 4.3 or everyone likes 16.9. I've seen people come and they love the older Dominators with a tiny little field of view. It's like watching two dimly lit postage stamps in a large blackened room. Just little squares of image way out in the distance. They love it because that image looks sharp, because the pixel density is very high, because it's a small image. They like that, and it's not distracting with the peripheral vision. They love that. And I've had guys come and say, "Oh, I'm going to buy a set of these Dominators." I've had other people come and they love the big immersive wide field of view. Some people like the 4.3, some people like the 16.9. So there's no rule, there's no hard and fast rules. It's a very personal thing choosing goggles. So that's why I say, take advantage of me. Come and try them all, and you'll find the one you like, and you won't waste your money on something that you finally realise, I wish I'd got 4.3 instead of 16.9 or vice versa. So yeah, always, or if you're in a club, try everyone's goggles. If you've got other people that you can try their goggles at, try them, because you'll find the ones you like, and those are the ones you should buy. But getting back to where I was, we've got 4 choices on the board. We've got these. We've got the FatShark HDO2s. We've got the DJI digital system, which will also work with analog if you plug a receiver in. And we've got the Orca, which is yet to be seen in the wild. I think, no, actually, Lexi Jensen did on My On High. She had they had a couple of sets of early production runs, and they give you their thoughts. I'll put a link to that video in the description of this one. Always keen to promote other channels that provide useful information. If you're not a subscriber to My On High, go subscribe now. It's nice, it's good. She does wonderful vlogs, excellent, well worth watching. But so you got the 4 choices. Which one are you going to choose? Because I can imagine people sitting back going, oh, I don't know, this is good, but then again, that's better, and this is good, really good advantage. And you know what I say? This is one of my sayings: is if you are really torn trying to make a decision between all the options, if you think, oh, they're all so close, I could make a mistake, then just toss a coin or something. Just make a choice based on whatever factor. Because if they're that close in terms of performance and value, it doesn't matter what you choose, you're going to be happy. Yeah, you're going to be happy because they're all so damn good. And as I say, can't compare myself to the HDO2s. I don't have a set. I can't afford to buy a set. And there's no one around here that uses them, so I can't borrow a set. So go and look at Joshua Bardwell's review, and Steele Davis have put reviews of the HDO2s up. They both love them. So I'll put links to that again in the description. Try and promote the people that are providing relevant and useful content. So go and have a look at those and see what you think. And as far as the the DJI digital system goes, yeah, it's pretty brilliant. In terms of image quality, it's well above these and the HDO2s and everything. It's just in a league of its own. So what should you buy? Well, it depends on where you're coming from. It really does depend on what you're using at the moment. Now, if you don't have any FPV equipment, if you're just a newbie and you're starting out and you want to get into flying quads or planes with FPV, then to be totally honest, I'd say get the DJI digital system, because it's a really easy system to set up. It works really well. It gives you the best viewing quality, and it's just really, really good. Okay, unless you're going to be getting into hardcore racing, if you just want to fly with the boys and have some fun and enjoy a really good picture, DJI really kind of wins hands down, and in terms of value too, because it's a pretty affordable option if you're not having to throw out any old gear. You don't have any existing FPV equipment. Even if you do have some existing FPV equipment, you've got to realize that you can, as I showed in one of my videos, you can put a receiver on it and you can use it for analog. It's not the best for analog, but if you intend transitioning to digital, you can live with it until you get to digital and then slowly buy air units and cameras. It's great. I mean, I wasn't as much of a fan of the DJI system until I used it. So, that sort of says it all. Now, obviously, for those of you who already have a big commitment to analog and you don't want to, or you can't afford to go digital at this stage, then you're really going to be making your mind up between the Orca, the HDO2s, and these. Now, here's how I suggest you go about it. If you're already using FatShark goggles, you've got FatShark HD or HD2s or whatever, so you've got yourself a RapidFire or a TBS Fusion module in the side for your receiver. If you've already got that set up, then to be totally honest, you probably want to go with the HDO2s because you don't have the cost of buying a module as you would do if you were coming from another place. So yeah, that probably, because the HDO2 appears to have a slightly larger field of view, which is good. I like that. It has a higher resolution OLED, which is pretty good as well. It doesn't have the head tracker as standard, so that might be an issue if you want to use head tracking. So yeah, you would. That's probably what I would do if I was coming from already had the FatShark module. I'd probably go for the HDO2s, to be totally honest, based solely on what I've seen. No first-hand experience, so I can't comment, and I'm unlikely to get first-hand experience because now that I've said I'd go HDO2s, FatShark are not going to send me any because I could find something wrong and change my mind. So they're on a win-win here. But if you're coming from something like the Aomways or a box goggle, right? So you don't have a FatShark module, then I would recommend these hands down, solely because they've got the built-in receivers. You're saving yourself money on those, on buying yourself a module. So as a value equation, these win hands down. These win because any module is going to cost you the best part of $100 or more. So although these are priced very similarly with the HDO2s, once you add the extra $100 for a receiver module, the HDO2s get pretty spendy pretty quickly, pretty spendy. So There you go. And I think also that the DVR in these is streets ahead of the FatShark DVR, way ahead of the FatShark DVR. So if you like reviewing DVR footage and you want a really good DVR that produces excellent results, another reason to choose these. So there you go. So I can't, these are a recommended buy. If you fit the criteria that I've spoken about, if you're not, if you don't have a legacy module you can plug into your new FatSharks, these are brilliant. These are brilliant. If you can't afford or you don't want to go digital at this stage, these are brilliant. If you think you might go digital later on, then these got the HDMI input. But a word of warning for those who might want to go digital later on. Digital is 720 by something else. I can't remember. 720. No, it's 1080 by 720. Oh, I can't remember. 1280 by 720. I think. Anyway, these would not give you a full HD picture because they're 10. Oh, I haven't got the book, but they're less than full HD, I think. Slightly less than full HD, or maybe not. They're pretty close to it. The FatSharks have a high resolution display. Now, and also both the FatShark and these are 4:3. So if you're going to go with a 16:9 picture, you're going to lose. You're going to be paying for pixels that you don't actually use because those bits will be black at the top and bottom. So what can I say? Buy them. Now, if you're really stuck and you're still thinking, oh, I still don't know what to buy, well, here's what I would say to you. As I say in most of my reviews, support the companies that support RC model reviews. SkyZone took a bit of a punt sending these in for review because, as everyone knows, if there's fault, I'll find it. And they did send in a while ago, remember, where's it gone? Here we go. They sent these goggles in. These were the original version 3s, and they look very similar. I mean, you might think, well, nothing much has changed, but actually a whole lot has changed because the big fault I found with the original version 3s, you can see very, very clearly here. Let me just get my t-shirt. Oh, hold on. It's going to be hard. Yeah, look where the nose goes. Look how big the nose divot is in these goggles compared to these goggles. And the big problem I found, you can go back and look at that review if you like, is that these original goggles sat so high on your nose that your eyes lined up with the bottom of the screen. So you actually had to look up at it and then you had to cant the glasses on your head to get a view. And then if nothing lined it up properly, you had to spend hours getting them just the right place on your face, then light leaked in from the side. Because the nose divot, if I can perhaps show it in another way, can we see the size of the nose divot? I don't know, possibly not. But these ones were for people with no nose. I think these might have been designed by perhaps, I don't know, Asians, for Asians, because Asians typically have smaller noses than Europeans. So when you put them on a European face, they just don't fit. The ergonomics was absolutely crap and they were very difficult to use. Great picture when you got them set up, lined up on your face, but who wants to spend 20 minutes getting them in just the right place and hope you don't sneeze so it all goes to hell? Totally solved the problem with that. For that great big place for your nose, the bridge of your nose sits right in the middle of the optics of the thing, so your eyes line up perfectly. Fantastic alignment. As I say, I throw these on my face from a distance and they stick and the picture's perfect. Can't say more than that. So there you go. So as I say, support the companies that support RC model reviews. SkyZone took a punt, they sent these in. I can't find much to grizzle about. I'm so enthusiastic about this product. So, and Ian, the guy from Australia, he loves them too. So, and I think Grumpy Trev on UAV Futures is using these and he loves them as well. So there's plenty of people saying, these are pretty good. These are pretty good. Are they the best? Probably not. Probably the HDO2s from FatShark are better, but they are a lot more expensive once you build the module price in. So if you're on a budget and you don't want to go digital, you don't want to wait till Orca come out, and you don't want to have to spend the money to buy a receiver module, it's the only choice you've got, really, isn't it? And it's a great choice. You will not be dissatisfied if you buy these, I can tell you now. The more I use these things, the more I fall in love with them, the more, the happier I get. And that's a good product. How many products have you bought and you've said, yeah, it's okay, but as you've used them, you've thought, oh, damn, this doesn't work, or that's not very good. These just keep getting better and better. Not many products you can say that about. Love them to death. These are now my everyday FPV goggles. In fact, I love them so much, I'm actually putting them in the case every time, not just throwing them in my backpack. That's how much I like them. So there you go. Now, if you've got comments, questions, anything at all to say about this review or the product, then please do so. You will find a link in the description if I can find a link to the information page, but it will not be an affiliate link. I will not make any money. So if you decide to buy these, it's not going to benefit me in any way. So I can say that I recommend them solely because I think they're really good and excellent value for money. That's the only reason I'm telling you. Thanks for watching. Thanks to my Patreon supporters. This has been a long video. No mid-roll ads because I hate the damn things and I'm sure you do too. So Patreon supporters, they pay the bills. Make sure you get the videos you want without the annoyances that YouTube keeps throwing at us in greater volume every day. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye for now. Oh, I'm FatShark. Just contact me. I'll give you my address. You can send some HDO2s and I'll do a side-by-side. But I don't think you will. And Orca, you could do the same. I don't mind. I'll tell the people what I think about your goggles if you're up for the challenge. Bye for now.